Who will be recording for the city?
I believe Ashley is.
Are you there, Ashley?
Yes, I'm on the phone. What was your question? Sorry.
When we get ready to get started, I need for you to let me know when the recorder is on.
Okay, I actually just started, so we can start from now if you guys are ready. Once I announced there was everybody here, I started it, and we can cut kind of this beginning part off if we need the recording. So it started now.
Are we going to identify the unknown participant?
That's Andy Atkins, sir, with the Human Relations Department. I apologize.
Is now joining.
Has everyone identified themselves? The meeting of the Fairness in Construction Board will come to order. I'm asking everyone.
Philip Yelder.
Is now joining.
Thanks, Philip. I'm going to ask those of you who are on the board if you would state your name and which organization you represent.
Skip Hutton, I represent the Builders Association.
Go ahead, Joe.
Joseph Mabin, the Minority Contractors Association of Greater Kansas City.
Adrian Foster, Naywick.
Bob Lohman, the subcontractors.
Ed DeSoignier, Heavy Constructors.
There he is.
Gentlemen, ladies, we have a quorum. Are there any other board members present? If no other board members present, we'll call this meeting to order. I'm calling for an approval of the March minutes. If the minutes have been read, are there any corrections or exceptions? If there are no exceptions or corrections, I'll entertain a motion.
This is Skip Hutton. I move they be passed. Second.
It's been moved and second. Gentlemen, if you would please, if you would state your name, would you approve? And also on your yays and nays, if you would state your name. So once again, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Skip Hutton.
One more.
I move they be approved. Ed DeSoignier, second.
It's been moved and second to accept the minutes as written. All in favor? By name?
Skip Hutton, yay.
Unknown participant is now joining.
Ed DeSoignier, aye.
Mabin, aye.
Is now joining.
Bob Lohman, aye.
Foster, yes.
It's been moved and second to accept the minute as written. All in favor, say aye.
We just
Aye.
did that there,
Aye.
Brother Ray.
Okay. No nays. All in favor. Okay, at this time, we'll turn the review of the projects over to Mark Runge. As the gentlemen come on, if you would clearly state your name. Those of you on the board, if you have a question, if you would state your name, who's asking the question. Thank you. We're in the hands of Mark Runge. We're not in the hands of Mark Runge.
Okay, the first project on the agenda is 701-83201 Likens Park improvements. HRD reviewed the goal and set goals of 10% MBE and 7% WBE. Is there someone from the department to discuss the project?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. This is Richard Allen with Kansas City Parks and Recreation Department. This project is located at 8th and Myrtle, and we're working with the neighborhood association in the improvements and development of the park. They've just got done doing probably a 3-year neighborhood engagement where They were looking at ways to reduce crime, to improve their neighborhood, get rid of vacant houses, to get people to move back into these houses. And then the work
mute
is
your phones if you're not talking, if you would, on the phone,
Is
mute it,
now
please.
exiting.
okay. And then the work includes concrete walks, shelter, grading for a soccer field and lighting, and then security cameras. But the neighborhood is going to be overseeing some of the construction, and so the department requested goals of 3 and 3, and we would like to entertain if the board would consider lower goals on this, because a lot of the work is the purchase of a shelter, and then they're going to oversee the contract of hiring contractors. So our request is to see if we can get lower goals than HRD submitted, but we did submit goals of 3 and 3. So with that, I'm going to put my phone on mute and be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Richard. HRD, if you would give us your assessment of the project.
HRD reviewed it and segregated the surveying for MBE participation and the hauling for the WBE participation. Had one previous project like this. Let me see. It was for the Hodge Park Phase 1 site improvements with a contract dollar of $543,000, and the goals were set on that at 11% MBE and 5% WBE, and the project has been closed out, and the prime contractor met the goals on the project.
Might I ask, what was the dollar amount of that project?
$543,000. It was a little bit higher than this one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Board, questions?
How's about a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Comments?
Yes, a comment. Our floor, or I should say maybe even a ceiling for projects with no goals on them is $324,000. We're looking at a project that's $26,000 over that we're trying to put goals of 10 and 7 on it. And I'll just tell you, I'm inclined to take Park Department's recommendations in terms of the goals on this project, particularly due to the dollar amount, and secondly, because of the involvement of the community directly on this project.
I agree. This is Adrian.
Well, I've got a question. This is Maven about this community involvement. Is this a novel thing? Does this happen all the time?
This is Richard Allen, and I would say, it probably, we've worked with different neighborhoods, and I'd say this probably happens once or twice, a year. And I think there's just a lot of good movement from the neighborhood. There's a lot of goodwill. This is a neighborhood that could really use some improvements, and I think these improvements will be a catalyst for change. And so anything that we can help the neighborhood to kind of stretch their dollars and get, the neighborhood headed in the right direction, I think would be a good thing.
This is Maven again. While I'm inclined, given the size of the project, to agree with Ed, I don't want to set a precedent that if there's neighborhood involvement that we waive minority and women inclusion goals on a project, or that becomes less important, or that we waive it, as you say, because it costs more money. I think that's a bad precedent, even though I'm inclined to support the department's recommendation.
This is Richard. One last time, I understand, and this won't become a norm.
Mr. Chairman, I go back, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I go back to the point, we're dealing with a project that's $26,000 over the limit. And quite frankly, I'm more inclined to have 0-0 goals on this. Okay. I think 3 and 3 is being overly generous. And in terms of precedent, we shouldn't even really be talking about goals on this project.
Okay, thank you, Ed. I'd like to draw your attention to the layout of the project itself. And if you look at the different scopes of work, the shelter building itself, $100,000. Richard, what is that? What type of building is that? This is to Richard Allen. Can you hear me?
Yes. The shelter is a metal building, and it's a prefabricated building that it'll be come out as a package, and it'll be fabricated on site. So it's metal columns and metal roof.
Okay, so it is something that would be erected. So more likely the general contractor would do that. Okay, I just want to say, because there's not a lot of construction here. That building itself, being that it's probably a proprietary type of a building itself that probably would not and could not be subbed out. I'll entertain a motion to set a goal board. This is your prerogative.
This is Skip Hutton. I'd make a motion that we go with the department's position of 3 and 3.
I just want a second.
It's been moved by Skip Hutton to set a goal at 3 and 3, and approved by Joe and Ed to second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Skip Hutton, I vote yay.
Ed DeSwanier, yay.
Adrian Foster, yay.
Maven, yay.
Loman, yay.
Thank you, board. By virtue of the vote that's before us, the goals are set at 3 and 3. Next project.
Next project does not have a project number determined yet. It's for the 27th Street Townhomes project for $1,628,000. HRD reviewed it and recommended goals of 15% MBE and 10% WBE. Is there someone from the department to discuss the project?
Which department?
Let me look. See. I think that's neighborhoods.
Yeah, so it's submitted by General Services, but neighborhoods should have someone representing it.
Is there someone here from the neighborhoods department to represent on the project?
Mr. Chairman, Mark, did you say this is the 27th Street Townhomes project?
Yes, that is the name of it.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
But it doesn't have on the goal sheet, it doesn't have which department submitted it. So I believe it's neighborhoods though.
Yeah, I think it's neighborhoods, and I'm sure they were contacted. They're on our distribution list, and they were made aware that they needed to be present to present the project.
Okay, if there's no one here to represent on the project, board, would you like to look at the information, or would you like to defer the project until we can have representation? I'll entertain a motion.
This is Terrell Davis with the Fulton Housing Group. We're the developer contractor on the project. I wasn't for sure if I could speak or not.
We need someone to represent us and tell us about the project. Can you tell us about the project?
Yes, sir.
Hold on just a second. Doug had said that someone would be representing, so he must be who Doug had delegated to come from neighborhoods. So I just wanted to add that in there.
If there's someone here to represent the project, we want to get the project out on the street. So if you would give us a
I will do so.
Explanation of the project.
Again, this is Terrell Davis with Fulton Housing Group. We are the developer / general contractor on this project. It consists of 8 townhome style units encompassed in two buildings. One site is the 2700 block of Brooklyn, and the other one is 2700 block of Olive. This project is highly supported by the city. We have city funds involved in this particular project. The project was aimed at providing affordable options to home buyers, so they will be for sale to income restricted tenants. We have partnered with Morningstar Development as well as Key Coalition, just some community partners there to kind of get the word out on the street about the project and get local support, and also to help in bidding process when we took the project initially out to bid. So I think we are, in my opinion, substantially covered with minority participation, those who we could have made fit anyways, from a cost standpoint. On the construction side, I will mention that our outfit, Fulton Housing Group, and our construction entity is a MBE certified business through the state of Missouri. We're not recognized in the city anymore, but we are recognized from the state level.
Is now exiting.
Just some price point, just really quick price points on the units. When they're complete, they'll be marketed at about $115,000, $120,000 a unit, and there'll also be some home buyer assistance there. So we're really excited about the project and really hopeful to get this thing going and close. We recently finished Morningstar Senior Apartments, which is around the corner. We did that in conjunction with Morningstar Baptist Church as well. So we're have a pretty strong presence there with the community, and looking forward to getting this one going.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Bob, Runji, can you give us the city's assessment?
HRD reviewed the project and recommended the goals of 15% MBE and 10% WB. Based on the MBE side, we had $170,000 for the site utilities, $25,000 for flooring, $50,000 for painting. And on the WBE side, we had $90,000 for the plumbing and $75,000 for the electrical. And then on the see if I had any previous projects like this. I'm not sure that we have. 27th Street Townhomes. Nope, they didn't find any. Well, let's see. Here's a Townhomes one. That's a PIAC project. The Rose Hill Townhomes. The goals were set at 15 and 10. CUP was at 15 and 10, and they're currently achieving 5 and 5. Then there's another PIAC project for the Newburn Apartments. Goals were set at 15 and 10. The CUP was at 15 and 10, and they achieved 28 and 11. And then we have one more, the Faxon School Apartments. It's an LCRA project. Goals were set at 15 and 11. CUP was approved at 15 and 11, and they achieved 23 MBE and 6% WBE.
This is Bob Lohman. I've got a question. I noticed that the prevailing wage is marked as no. Is that because this is a federal funded project, or why?
From my understanding, is no, because it's with home funding. If it's more than 12 units, it'll trigger the prevailing wage rate. But since it's 8, we were clear to forego that.
This is Maven for Runji. I see that we don't have availability in items, but we could put availability in virtually every one of these scopes.
Yes, we could.
The exception of just 1 or 2. Would you agree?
I would agree. The person preparing the goal request didn't write in the availability, but I believe we have someone in all of those scopes. We have good availability in most of the building scopes. So,
yeah.
This is Foster. This is Adrian, and I'm glad Joe brought that up because I was looking at that as well. But based off of what Mr. Runge was talking about in regards to the different other projects that are currently happening, I am concerned that some of these goals, like 23% and like 6 for the women, and as Joe had nicely outlined, that there is a lot of availability both in the MBE and WBE. So I would like to see these goals and availability for the WBE to be much higher than the 10 if we're going to go 15-10. I think they could actually be very similar, like even doing, 10 and 10. I think that maybe in past history, the number of women businesses was quite less in the construction area, but now we've seen a rise in that. In fact, in many areas, there's more W's than there are M's in some specialties. So that's what I would just say is to look at a more even number, percentages.
Adrian, you have the floor. Do you have a motion?
Oh, I apologize. No, I think there's going to be more
Are there
discussion.
any questions before
Adrian,
you do any other discussion?
Before you make a motion, could I just ask a point of clarification, please?
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Adrian.
Ed Deswanier speaking.
Yes, could I have the answer to Mr. Lohman's question regarding no prevailing wage?
Yes.
Answer it a little bit clearly, because I'll tell you what, it just went right over me.
Right. I think Mr. Deswanier and Mr. Lohman, I heard what the developer said, but I think that would be still Davis-Bacon applicable, even though state prevailing wage may not be applicable. Anytime there's federal funds involved, Davis-Bacon is always applicable for that. So I think maybe going forward, we may have to add a box or something like that, delineate between state prevailing wage and maybe, since we're doing more of these kind of federally funded projects with HUD dollars, to delineate between state prevailing wage and Davis-Bacon being applicable on these projects. Because I hear what the gentleman said is 12 units, but I believe that there should at least be Davis-Bacon applicable on here, even if the state prevailing wage is not applicable. So with that said, I don't know what the board's prerogative is until we can get you an answer on this here, but I believe we do need to clarify that if that's a concern for you before we move forward.
Well, let me just say, my memory may be failing me. Certainly a possibility.
It's about time you realize that.
Some years back, there was a question on an airport project that had come up that there was prevailing wages being used on that project as opposed to Davis-Bacon. And when I asked, why is that? The answer I was given was that what Davis-Bacon will do is defer to a state rate. If a state rate is higher, sets it higher than Davis-Bacon does. Now, like I say, my memory may be faulty. So if that's the case, well, we've got this interplay occurring between Davis-Bacon and prevailing wage. My preference for this, since it's going to be advertised, is to, at a minimum, advertise it as prevailing wage. So I think it gives whomever, clear understanding that there is going to be some governmental wage attached to this project.
This is Terrell. This is Terrell. So I'm just trying to make sure I understand you all, because the project has already been out to bid. We already solicited all of our bids with non-prevailing wage rates and secured our funding ESO. So am I understanding you that you're just putting prevailing wage rates on it just because, even though the regulation says that we're not subject to? I'm just trying to get a better understanding.
No, the regulations, I don't think say that. What the regulations are going to say, if there's federal dollars involved, they may require Davis-Bacon.
Yes, but there's an exception, and I can send those documents around if I need to, or some to Doug to have them circulated. We deal with a lot of subsidized projects. We just finished up with the Ivanhoe neighborhood project, which had the same funding, which was home funding, and they were 8 units. And because it was below 12 units, which is the exception, it didn't trigger prevailing wage.
Did you guys come in front of Fairness and Construction Board for goals?
I wasn't a part of. I was more so on the back end, the consulting piece. It may have been Nyla or someone there.
Yeah, they probably didn't, Adrian, because the departments are really now just sending everything to us within the last year. So I think that project he's talking about, Ivanhoe, started about 2 years ago. Is that somewhere like that? About 2 years ago?
Yes, sir.
And
yes, sir.
so that one was probably under the old system before the new ordinance kicked in. Adrian. It's why it didn't come before Fairness.
Thank you for that clarification.
So this raises a new question then. Why are we setting goals on projects that have already been advertised?
Good question.
And bid.
So we're closing the barn door after the proverbial cow was out.
This is our first hearing that it had already been advertised.
Am I understanding that you're saying not only has it been advertised, but bidded on also?
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
And I'm sorry, let's throw it again. This was my initial question into Doug, and I have emails to go back asking him when to put the project out to bid and about the MBEWE goals. And knowing I had to have them anyways, I went on ahead and advertised as is, which trying to set higher goals just to get as much as I can. So yeah, it's kind of backwards as you state, but I was told to go ahead and put the project out to bid.
Do we have legal representation on the line with us from the city?
I'm not sure. Dustin, are you there?
In ordinary times, if we were in City Hall, we would be going into a sidebar to see what is the legal rights of this.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you have said, if you wanted to hold the project until we can get a legal opinion from Dustin on what you have the authority to do since the project has already been bidded. We were not made aware of that when the goal request was sent in. We were thinking that they were waiting until the goals be set before they advertise it. So I don't know the answer to that in terms of what legal will say in terms of them having to go back out on the street and rebid the project versus you all agreeing to the goals that are there and to move the project forward. I mean, those are options. I know it is not the way that we operate, but that may be the scenario that we come back with when legal does look at it.
Yeah, this is Ed DeSwanier. My preference would be to set this project to the side until we get some answers to this, please, because I've got a feeling we're going to be seeing more and more of these things, and we need to get our arms around whatever process we're going to be employing.
Ed, I agree. Ray Malone here, Chairman. I agree because my understanding by the ordinance we're to sit goes on projects that has not been bidded and has not gone on for advertisement. I don't know why this project is before us. I'll entertain a motion to sit this project aside until we can get further clarification from legal.
Says Maven, be it so moved.
Ed DeSwanier,
Joe Maven has been moved in second to set this project aside until we can get further clarification from legal. By the names, I'll entertain a motion. Your vote. Yea and nay.
DeSwanier, aye.
Skip Hutton, aye.
Foster, aye.
Maven, aye.
Loman, aye.
It's been moved that the project be set aside by unanimous vote. Next project.
Next project is contract number 9570, project number 80002257 out of
Is
the Water
now
Resources
exiting.
Department versus the citywide repair and replacement of fire hydrants number 6 for $1.5 million. HRD reviewed it and recommended goals of 8% MBE and 3% WBE. There's someone from Water Services to discuss the project.
Terry Thomas, KC Water, the project manager for this project. This is the next installment of our maintenance contracts for the fire hydrants throughout the city. Kind of what's involved is that the contractor is assigned a work order, and then they go out to the hydrant. They dig it up or excavate all the way down into the water main. They install new fire hydrant branch and fire hydrant, as well as a fire hydrant valve. And then they do any restoration required in terms of street, curb, seeding, and sodding. This is kind of our next iteration. This one will have an option for 4 renewals, as opposed to fire hydrant version 5 only had an option for 2. So we're extending it this time to a total of 5 years. If you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Alrighty, thanks. Randy, Mark, would you give us your assessment? Then we'll go to the board.
HRD reviewed it, and we found participation on the MBE side in the hauling for $120,000, and on the seating and sodding on the WBE side for $50,000. Previous projects we had like this, we had, let's see, what up?
Should have 5 of them.
Oh yeah, there should be 5. I think he listed 3 or 4 of them. So here it is. WSD 9345 for $1 million. It's been closed. The goals were set at 6 and 4. The CUP was set at 6 and 4. They achieved 12 and 3. WSD 9345 for $1 million. Still open. Goals were set at 6 and 4. CUP was approved at 6 and 4, and they achieved 11 and 3. WSD 117 for $800,000. That one's been closed. Goals were set at 5 and 4. The CUP was set at 5 and 4, and they ended up achieving 54 and 3.
What?
Yeah.
What?
54 and 3.
Good God.
We have availability in all areas. Sorry.
State your name, please.
Sorry, this is Adrian. I was just saying that I was waiting to hear that last one, but it sounds like 6 and 4 when they set them that they the MWBE it's lopsided when there's more than enough on both sides. I'm just trying to get equality here.
This is Maven. Is it possible? I know from experience that some contractors have complained that it's more difficult to get the WBE on the heavy and highway side, that kind of work. It doesn't mean that it does matter whether or not our availability is spread or what that spread is over the various scopes. So that may explain why they consistently got the 3 on the WBE side.
I hear you. Sorry, Joe. This is Adrian. I just, again, looking at the scopes of service, we could easily take the traffic control of 110,000 for a WBE, which we know we have at least 3 of those. We could like reverse these numbers, if you will, to 3 MBE and 8 WBE by just doing something like that. So anyway.
Yeah, but see, part of this, Adrian, that makes this project, frankly, unattractive to many minority and women contractors is that you jump here, you jump there, there's going to be a lot of small pieces put together. So if you had that 110,000 in traffic control in 1 or 2 sites, it would be very different than in 50 or 60 sites.
Understandable.
Just an observation.
I understand that. I mean, the same with trucking and seeding and excavation.
So there's going to be little bitty areas of seed and sod restoration.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like when we have other utility projects and you never know how many houses or backyards you're going to be in. That's how I see this project. It's just like that. You don't know how many. It's multiple, and this is going to be multiple years. So I just don't want to see again like a 54-3. I think that some best efforts can be made to equalize the numbers.
Mr.
And
Chairman.
my last comment, Maven, is that this kind of project could be bid by a minority or a woman-owned company.
That's right.
I agree with that as well, Joe. This Adrian.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, the 54% was achieved because it was an MWBE that bidded the work and
Yes.
self-performed. That's why this percentage was so high.
All right. I feel better now.
Thanks for the
And I
clarification.
think that was going to be my question. Okay. With that discussion, I'll entertain a motion. What's your pleasure? Board?
Mr. Chairman, this is Ed DeSoignier. I'd move to approve recommended HRD goals of 8 and 3.
It's been moved by Mr. DeSoignier to accept the HRD goals of 8-3. Do I have a second?
Loman, second.
It's been moved and second by Bob Loman to accept HRD's goals of 8 and 3. All in favor, state your name. Yea or nay?
Maven, aye.
Loman, aye.
DeSoignier, aye.
Adrian, yes. Thought I heard Skip.
Okay, it's been
Skip and Joe came in at the same time.
It's been unanimously approved to accept HRD's goals of 8 and 3. 8 and 3 it is. Next project.
Next project is 622-002-0012 on-call services contract for tenant finishes.
Unknown participant is now exiting.
HRD reviewed the project and recommended goals of 14 and 8. Is there someone from the department to discuss the project?
Yes, sir. Mike Waller, Senior Planner, Aviation Department.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, good afternoon. This project is for on-call services contract for tenant finishes. The estimated cost for this project is $2,680,000. Prevailing wage will be involved. This is primarily for facilities maintenance and repair, largely for tenant facilities. This is the original goal request for this project, and the project will involve full service contractor build-out, specified tenant finishes, and other ancillary projects for aviation department facilities. The project will involve tenant finishes at both the Charles B. Wheeler Downtown and Kansas City International Airports. We initially requested MBE participation at 13% and WBE participation at 8%. If you have any questions, I'd like to answer them.
Thank you. Okay, Mark, can you tell us how the city saw the project?
Sure. We segregated the foundations, which includes concrete, retaining walls, and backfill, for $270,000 on the MBE side, as well as the doors for $97,000 to come up with the 14%. And on the WBE side, we used the drywall for $110,000 and the electrical for $105,000 to come up with the 8% on the WBE side.
Thank you. Board, questions, comments? Tell me this while we're waiting for the board. Mark, do you have any similar project similar to this particular that may have been done in the past by the aviation department, particularly at downtown airport?
No, I don't. He didn't find any. Sometimes it's really difficult to find things like that in B2G. We may have had some before we even had B2G because, I mean, the airport's been there for a long time. So I'm not sure exactly when the last one of those projects was out. He found one for improvements to a storage maintenance building, a $3 million project, and this one's $2 million something. And the goals were set at 14 and 10, and it was closed out, and the goals were met on that one. But I'm not sure how applicable that is.
This is
Okay,
maybe
question go ahead, Joseph.
For the airport representative. Are you aware of any projects that you plan on using this money for already? Have you identified any projects?
No, that would be, well, I guess I can't say. I represent the aviation department. Obviously, I'm within the planning and engineering division. This contract is primarily for properties and commercial development. And so I do believe that they have a list of projects. And honestly, the projects under our estimated cost breakdown in terms of the scopes of work, I mean, it could be any or all of those trades. So I'm sure that they have an internal capital improvement program that they're going by, but I'm just not able to say which project would be first or what exact projects will be included.
Yeah, I was just trying to get some idea of how many. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And this will be shared between both airports, downtown and NCI?
That's correct.
Questions, comments of the board?
This is Lohman. I would make a motion to accept HRD's goals of 14 and 8.
This is Hutton, second it.
It's been moved and second to accept the HRD goals of 14 and 8 by Bob Lohman and Skip Hutton. All in favor?
Lohman, aye.
Sonia, aye.
Hutton, aye.
Adrian, Joe?
Maven, aye.
We have 4 ayes.
Must have lost Adrian.
Oh, we still have a
Something just
quorum.
went really weird. I just
there we
lost
go.
you guys. I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay. You there? We just
I'm
had
back.
we're waiting. Okay. We're looking for approval of the 4 guys has approved the project. We have one in what your status is. Yeah,
Yes,
and
I was
nay.
in-
Up or down for 14 and 8.
Thank you. No, I'm a no. Thank you on that one.
Okay. All right. We have 4 ayes, and the ayes, and 1 nay. Next project, ayes have it. 14 and 8 it is.
Thank you.
Next project is also out of aviation department, 622-00532, airfield pavement repairs at MKC. 13% MBE and 8% WB is the HRD recommendation on this project. Is there anyone from the aviation department to discuss this project?
Yes, sir. Mike Waller, Senior Planner, Aviation Department. I will be the project manager on this project. This is for airfield pavement repairs at downtown airport. This project is estimated cost is $300,000. Prevailing wage will obviously be utilized. This is for a construction project. This is the original goal request for this project as well. The project will include rehabilitation, full depth repair, and or reconstruction of airfield paved surfaces at Charles B. Wheeler Downtown Airport. Repairs will occur as needed based on regular inspection by maintenance and operational staff. In particular, we've identified 3 areas on the airfield that need repairs: taxiway Alpha, taxiway Delta, and a large portion of apron removal, abandoned aircraft parking apron that needs to be removed on the northeast side of the airfield. The estimated cost breakdown originally was proposed for 13% MBE and 8% WBE. And obviously, because we're really dealing with, concrete and asphalt, the building trades is really site work, demolition, excavation, erosion control, asphalt,
Richard
and concrete.
Is now exiting.
That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mike.
Yes.
Mr.
Mark,
Chairman, I have a
will you give us
question.
the city's assessment? And then
Mr. Chairman?
we'll have questions on the board. Yes.
It's Ed Deswani. I have a question. Is
Sure.
the, is the project amount that I'm seeing on this sheet of $300,000 correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir, it is. This is Mike Waller. That is correct. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Waller. Mr. Chairman, why are we even considering this project for goals?
Well, I'll tell you the truth, Ed, because I thought it was 300,000. I mean,
Yes.
it is 300,000, and our minimum is 324.
Yes,
No,
sir.
sir. No, sir. The minimum
is
is
it?
300. The minimum,
Go ahead.
the minimum for the Fairness
Ed,
Board is
That's-
300.
State your name.
Sure. This is Philip. This is Philip Yeller with HRD. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, Board. The minimum threshold for construction is 300,000 and above. So the goals you all, any project.
Unknown participant is now joining.
Mr. Yelder, I disagree. Reading from the spreadsheet, the question is the estimated cost greater than $300,000? This is $300,000.
Right. So the way the code reads is that the code reads that you all established goals at 300,000 and above. So anything at 300, we bring to you all for consideration.
Well, again, to Mr. DeSoigne's point, this is Bob Lohman, the workforce goal states greater than 300,000. Or
That's pretty much how
800.
we've operated.
Right. And greater than 800 hours.
Greater than 300,000 or greater than 800 hours. Now, we didn't look and see if the 800 hours was applicable, but we did take the fact that the project was 300,000. So we brought those to you. Now, if you all are suggesting that you wanted 301, that's
yep.
What does the ordinance read, Philip?
The ordinance reads 300,000 and above.
Let's stay with the ordinance.
Now, that's how we interpret it. So if it's 299, we wouldn't bring it, but if it's 300, we'll bring it to you.
This is again, Mr. Chairman. I have to respectfully disagree. We have consistently dealt with projects that are above $300,000 in setting goals. Okay, and in terms of talking about setting precedent, which is a theme that Mr. Maben brought up earlier, we're now creating a new precedent where we're now operating at $300,000 plus, which has not been the case previously. And in fact, one of the prior projects mentioned the floor at $324,000.
Now, at point of clarification, this is Ray Malone, Chairman. Is your concern with the workforce goes greater than 800 or the estimated cost of the project at 300,000?
Mr. Chairman, it's the estimated cost of the project. I draw your attention to project number one. Right. And in project number one, under the box titled Construction Workforce Goals, are the estimated construction labor hours greater than 800,000 and the estimated cost greater than 324,000? If yes, complete the required crafts worksheet.
Mr. DeSwani, this is Philip again. Mr. DeSwani, that was an error on the department's part when they filled this in, and we didn't catch that. That should have been 300. Because if you look at the very next one, it says 300 in that same box.
Yeah, I know.
So that was an error on the department, and we did not catch the.
Well, but the next project, Mr. Yelder, also says 324. I always thought our minimum amount was $324,000. Did the ordinance change the amount?
No, because the next project, project number 3, it has 300 in the box as well, and project number 4, it has 300 in the box as well when it says construction workforce goals, if that's what you're looking at.
Well, I'm looking at the next project that we're going to hear, project 9287,
which
the
number?
water main replacement, which says $324,000. So I'm confused. I thought the ordinance was 324.
No,
this
sir.
Is Dustin. Hey, Philip.
Yes.
It's 300,000.
Is it?
And that's for workforce and MBE, WBE.
Right.
Is that greater than 300,000 or 300,000 and greater?
It's more than or exceeds in workforce. So it'd be greater than.
Who's speaking?
This is Dustin, the attorney.
Okay,
Hey,
Dustin,
Dustin,
we're asking
welcome.
everyone when you speak if you would state who you are for the record.
Sure.
Now, Dustin, again, point of clarification, per the ordinance, what does the ordinance state that the Fairness Board set goals on? What is the minimum?
The construction, this is Dustin from the law department. The definition of contract in the code says more than 300,000.
So
then we don't set
ones
goals.
excuse me. Go right ahead.
So Dustin, this is Philip. I think one of the questions from Mr. Deswani and Mr. Loban was that at 300,000, are they to set goals, or should be 301 is where they start to set goals?
Refer him to the
technically,
project at hand.
If you want to get cute, this is Dustin with the law department. It'd be $300,000 and 1 penny, I guess, is when you'd start setting goals. So it'd be 301 in full dollars. Because I think you all round up, right, Philip?
Yeah. Yep.
This is Mike Waller. I have a question, actually. Our engineer's estimate, we've already had an engineering firm assisting us with this estimate as well as internal estimation. We actually looked at a cost of about $287,000 for this work. And so what I did was I rounded it up to 300 to account for maybe a bid were to come in over 287. And so this is only my second Fairness and Construction Board meeting. What is this based specifically on an estimate, or what happens in this case? For instance, if this project came back at 325 when we got the bids, and there was a decision today not to set goals for this project, what would happen then?
Great question.
No, what would happen if no goals were set? If no goals were set on the project, the contract is not required to meet goals.
Okay, even if bids came in at, say, over $300,000, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the board would have waived. This is Philip. The board would have waived the goals, or set 0 goals, or set no goals, and so that would not be a requirement on the contractor to have goals. Now, if they made a good faith effort and just filed participation, that would be okay, but it would be a requirement from the code that they have to have goals on.
Okay. This is maybe, and concurrently, if it came in at 287 and we set goals, those goals will still have to be met. Is that true?
Yes. So if you all establish
goals, reason we're always very antsy about setting high goals on small projects, because it puts an undue burden on the general if it comes in low, especially if it's a project with few scopes.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is Ed Deswanier.
Yes, Ed.
The $300,000 limit was a policy established by the city council. I don't think we were given the liberty to amend city council policy. And as this project is at $300,000 and therefore falls below the amount, or falls right at the cutoff point actually set by the city council, I'm going to move that we take no action to set goals on this project.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Ed to accept no goals on this project and approved and seconded by Adrian Foster. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fournier, aye.
Foster,
Hutton,
aye.
aye.
Maven, aye.
Loman, aye.
The board unanimously elects not to set a goal on this project. HRD, in the future, please be a little bit more cognitive to see if they are 300, not to bring them to us. If they're above it, bring them to us. Thank you. Next project.
Thank you, sir.
Last project on the docket is 9287. It's actually two different project numbers, 80002040 and 810000831. Water main rehabilitation along Main Street, Pershing Avenue to East 51st Street. HRD reviewed it and recommended goals of
Mike
12%
Waller
MBE
Is now exiting.
and 8% WBE. Hang on. This one has a total contract amount of 32 million.
My worksheet has $32,367,000. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. It's actually two different. The way they broke it down, it makes it confusing because they have one that's like 12 million and the other one's 10 million and something, and they combine them together.
Okay, does both of them come into phase one and phase two? Does both of the project comes at the $32,367,000 shell?
Yes.
This is
32,367. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I just wanted a clarification for myself and the board. Okay, Go ahead, Ed. Mark.
Okay, HRD reviewed it and recommended goals of 12% MBE and 8%.
No, Mark. We asked you to have the person from the water department to give their estimate first.
Yes. Is there anyone from the Water Services Department to discuss the project?
Yes, this is Jeff Martin, Acting Chief Engineering Officer with KC Water. Good afternoon, members of the board, and thanks for hearing this particular project today. So this project is in support of the planned streetcar extension that Public Works currently is in the design phases of. As Mr. Runge mentioned, we have this split up into two separate scopes of work, but it's actually will be bid as one single contract. So within this particular contract, we will be doing water main replacement. This will include distribution mains and transmission mains. And then we will also be doing sewer relocations, sewer main relocations, and rehabilitations along the streetcar route along Main Street from essentially Pershing Avenue down to 51st Street. So the work within this is pretty much your typical water main relocation, where we'll do the excavation, the installation of the new water main, testing, and restoration of the pavement afterwards. The sewer work is similar in that will be the relocation of sewer manholes and sewer mains along the route, as well as CIPP, so lining of existing sewer mains. So I have on the line with me today Kwa Win and Jerry Stevens. These are the project managers on this project. Kwa is overseeing the sewer aspects of it, and Jerry's overseeing the water aspects of it. So
they can provide additional answers for any technical questions you have regarding this particular project.
Thank you. Mark?
Okay, HRD reviewed it, and on the water main installation section of it, we segregated the pipe material and appurtenances for 60% for the supply. For MBE, some of the pipe installation, 900,000 of the 12,842,200 for the MBE. And on the WBE side, we segregated the asphalt pavement restoration, the concrete restoration, the construction staking, and the seeding and sodding, and the hauling on the WBE side, along with some of the pipe testing and the traffic control and the erosion control on the WBE side to come up with the 12% MBE and 8% WBE on the water main portion. On the sewer installation, 500,000 for MBE from the sewer main open cut point repairs, 500,000 from the manhole rehabilitation, traffic control of 200,000, and site restoration of 200,000, a portion of that. On the WBE side, we had some more of the sewer main open cut point repairs for 450,000, some of the manhole rehabilitation for 500,000, for it to come up with the 8% WBE on that side.
Thank you, Mark. Question, board, comments?
This is Hutton. I have a question for Jeff Martin. Jeff?
Yep.
In your recommendations from your department, for the project, you had 10 and 6 was achievable. HRD has jumped that up to 12 and 8. Do you see a problem in meeting HRD's goals, or do you have a reason because of past projects you have the lower goal?
So I'll defer to Jerry on the water side and Qual on the sewer side, if you don't mind on that.
Sure.
Jerry, you want to jump in first?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is Jerry Stevens, project manager on the water portion of this project. In the past, we've had most of our water main replacements have been in 10 and 6, and that's why we required 10 and 6. I don't believe that 12 and 8 will be something that the contractor will not be able to get to. I feel confident that they could do that. So I would put that in the contract that they would have to do 12 and 8.
Okay, Qual, can you jump in sewer side?
This is Quad KC Water, representing the sewer side. So I second on Jerry answers, because in all of my previous project with the I-9 Smart Sewers project, which is similar to this type of project, is also we're getting 9 and 5, 9% MBE, 5% WBE, and sometimes 10% MBE, 6% WBE. So I'm recommending 10 and 6, just as Jerry.
Thank you.
That answers,
Skip.
Sort of. Yes, it answers it.
This is Bob Lohman for Mark Runge. Mark, what's the history been on water main replacements? I know that the goals have been set at 10 and 6. What's the performance?
Well, the prime contractors on the water main replacement projects have usually met or exceeded the goals. They've never had any problems meeting the goals of 10 and 6, but a lot of them do exceed them. And we have a lot of good MBE, WBE contractors that can do this type of work. I mean, you have people like Blue Nile, G&G, Rodriguez, Redford. We have a lot of good companies that do this type of work.
And this is Maven. I'm looking at some of these availabilities that are strong on the MWB side, the CCC inspection, the cleaning of mains. It wasn't used, but there's a lot of, so I don't look at this and see that the successful contractor would be hamstrung on finding scopes that he could make sure contractors or subs were competitive.
This is Foster. I agree with Joe on the WBE side as well. Can I make a motion?
It's in the board's hands if there are no other questions.
All right. If there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion for 12 and 8. This is Foster.
There's a motion on the floor to accept the goals of HRDs at 12 and 8. Do I have a second?
This is Hutton. I second the motion.
Skip Hutton has seconded the motion. All in favor, please state your name.
Hutton, aye.
Foster, yes.
Maben, aye.
Loman, aye.
Sonia, aye.
It's been unanimously approved to accept HRD's goal of 12 and 8. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Are there any other projects to come before the board today?
Believe that's it.
Mr. Chairman,
If there are
those
no
are all
other
the
projects,
Jeff Martin.
Is now exiting.
is there any other business?
Yes.
Well, just a point, just a personal point, Mr. Chairman. This is Ed Deswanier. I just want to compliment Ashley Holmes on
Yes.
setting this thing up on Microsoft Teams. This is a lot better than having a cell phone sitting on a desk trying to hear what other board members and folks are saying. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I think she did an excellent job. I'd like to caution you. Have your phone sitting on your
Is now
side during the
exiting.
practice session. My circuit board opened up and I lost it completely. So that old second is always good to have. I'd like to ask also, do we still have our attorney on board? I'd like to have a
I apologize
decision.
for being. I'm sorry. I'm here. I apologize for being late.
Sure. Okay. I'd like to have a decision made on that Morningstar project. There was no project number for that project, in which we had a Terrell Davis on for neighborhood services to give his
now
opinion.
exiting.
I would like to know exactly what the decision is based upon the funding. I think that makes a decision as to how the project is set up for Davis-Bacon, prevailing wage, or whatever. Can we get a decision rendered from that? And if you can you give us some directions where to go and take a look at that? If HRD would get that to us before our next meeting?
I was not on the
This
call.
project has been set aside, so when it comes up, I'd like for us to be well versed before it comes back, if it comes back.
Yeah, this is Dustin. I'm happy to talk to Philip today or tomorrow. And I don't know the full context of the discussion, so I don't know what the discussion was about, but I'm sure I can get something to you pretty quick here.
Okay,
Hey, this is
great.
David. Two things. It bothers me, their failure to understand the process. If we're charged with setting goals based on availability, I've got some difficulty in my mind setting goals on what they achieved before they even brought it to us.
Agree.
It would have been good if he was knowledgeable and had came to us and say, yes, if he doesn't understand the rules, if he doesn't understand the ordinance, but he understands how to put the project out. If he's already gone out with the project, he could have at least came back and say what he has achieved on the project. He should know by now if what he's saying is true. So with that being, any other comments?
Well,
Chairman,
this is Sonia. I just think it's troublesome. That they bring a project to us that's already been advertised and bids have been submitted.
Yeah.
All right, so do I. There are a couple of things that kind of this is I hope it's not our new normal, but even if it is, there's a couple of things that happened today that we should get a little bit better knowledge of. And hopefully that was answered today, that it simply has to be anything over $300,000 for it to come before this board, and that a little bit more should be done on making sure that this type of thing doesn't happen again with these different agencies. They do things differently than the way that we do. And we have an ordinance that we're charged by to uphold. So if you guys would help as HRD, you guys do an excellent job. So if you would help us along this line, it would be a lot better for us. We don't want to ever see this board sued for a reason that we could avoid. That's our charge. If there's nothing else before this board, our next meeting is May the 14th, 2020.
Mr. Chairman.
Maven, will we get our reports in the mail?
Mr. Chairman, this is Philip. A couple of things I need to bring to the board's attention before you all adjourn. Number one, thank you, Mr. Deswanier, for recognizing the staff and their work on getting this here set up. This has been some difficult times for all of us, but we're trying to get through, and we appreciate the board's support and helping us as we navigate these waters here. Second thing, Mr. Malone, I'm sorry, Mr. Maven, you just mentioned reports. Our goal is to mail those reports out to you next week, so that you will have those to look at and have comments on between now and the next board meeting. And we'll work on that too in terms of how we are able to disseminate those to you prior to the meeting. Typically, as you know, when we come into the meeting, we come into the reports the same day. So we'll work on making that happen. Unfortunately, board members, I need to make you all aware that we have been sued. The program has been sued. So we are right now preparing an answer to the lawsuit. We are in the process of doing that. And so as that process moves forward, I will let you all know where that hinges and what
is now exiting
and what is taking place with that. So
Philip, this is Hutton. What's the nature of the lawsuit?
They are challenging the personal net worth provisions of the code, and the fact that we asked for an extension, and they had said that they thought the extension should not have been granted. Basically, saying the extension should not have been granted, and they're asking this a court to rule that the program should be enjoined because of that. So we're preparing, and like I said, we're preparing an answer for the courts to address that particular piece. But they're challenging the personal net worth provision of the code.
So it's a certification question.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And can we ask who has filed the suit?
It's public record. The companies that filed it were Staco Electric and Shaw Electric.
Sure.
Mm.
Very good.
So if it's enjoined, does that affects the total program, not just our efforts to assist the bigger companies? Is that correct?
It will affect the total. It will affect the entire program.
Hey, is Dustin still on?
I'm here.
Hey, Dustin, this is Ed Deswanier. So if I remember right, you've got boilerplate language in the ordinance that says something to the effect that if any portion is found to be unconstitutional or illegal or voided by a court, what have you, it doesn't void the rest of the provisions.
Yes, that's correct. I mean,
okay.
It doesn't mean a court would follow that, but yeah, we'd certainly rely on that if they, if they took issue with the personal net worth portion.
Okay. That's important because, I mean, if something happens with personal net worth, the rest of the ordinance stays intact. So, great. Thank you.
That's a lesson for us all in our effort to protect those that have anteed up and got out. It challenges our basic program. Editorial, I fought that crap for a year.
Yep. That's going to continue to raise its ugly head.
Yep.
Yeah.
So members of the board,
Okay.
This members of the
Go
board,
ahead,
this
Ed.
Philip again.
Philip. Go ahead.
We're working with Galen, Dustin, and one of another city attorneys in preparing our answer for the courts. I think we have a response due date sometime around I believe the next week or the 20th. I'm not sure of the exact date, but anyway, we'll prepare an answer for the courts. From what I understand, there's a mediation portion that will take place, and the city is able to bring forth our plan in terms of how we would address the lawsuit and address the allegations. But nothing we have right now is concrete. So as soon as that happens, as soon as we have more knowledge or instruction from the courts, I will pass that information on to you.
It seems like the city could just go on and pass a net worth standard and be done with it.
So, Mr. Mayor, this is Philip again. So as you know, not last month before last in February, the city did pass the extension for the personal net worth to coincide with what the federal program is the $1.3 million. And so, but we asked for an extension, as you know, to October 1st of 2020 versus implemented it sooner. So that's the challenge that the complainants are suing us on.
Yeah.
Okay. Has there been any other challenges around the country for personal net worth on the state side, city level?
I don't know about personal net worth itself. I mean, programs have been challenged across the country for various other areas, and personal net worth may have been included, because typically what happens is when they start with one thing, they just throw everything in there if those provisions are not already in the program. So they may have started with side standards or principal place of business, but because personal net worth were not there, they did that, or they added side standards. But in this particular case here, they're focused on the personal net worth aspect.
Okay, and these companies you have certified?
Yes, sir. These are the ones that have. These are the ones who personal net worth will exceed the $1.3 million.
Oh yeah, before they even change it to WBE. Okay, is there anything else before this board?
I got it right.
Pardon me?
I'm saying I understand. But
Yes.
basically, these are companies that are afraid other companies will benefit on the airport, and they can't.
Yeah.
Shaw and.
Okay. Is there anything else? If there's nothing else before this board, we are adjourned.
All right. Thank you. You all
Thank
take
you.
care.
Have a happy
Stay safe.
Easter.
Stay healthy.
Everybody be safe
Unknown
now.
participant is now exiting. Unknown participant is now